we have to be careful. Because we have power to legislate, we cannot speculate. Anything done in this house, Nigerians will take it very seriously because we have the power to make laws, including the laws of life and death. Let this bill rest in peace. It should attract no further hearing. It shouldn't go to public hearing because even that, we still suggest that we are trying to tinker with the CBN Act and the foreign exchange market. If it is necessary, I'm sure the executive knows what to do. Bills of this nature have to come from the executive. Number two, in an earlier decision, we said if we are going to repeal a law, the law must be available for us to look at and compare the provisions with the proposed new law. I am completely at home with the submission of Senator Abiru. And with profound respect to my friend, Sani, hard as you try, you try to appeal to our sentiment with regards to foreign exchange stability. Yet, the specific provision will do damage to that stability. Markets, by their nature, is well summarized by the man who has spoken and left, Senator Wadada. Sir, for Nigerians to hear that we are discussing a market reform by IMF thinking.
I think if you look very well, it may have moved from where he spoke. Wadada may still be around, but look around. It may be somewhere else.
Oh.
Oh, okay. You are now there. So it's there.
Yeah.
It's there.
Thank you, sir. So I think, for example, you talk of stability and you talk about liberalization. To liberalize is to remove control. How? To remove control is to make government completely redundant. I think, sir, with profound respect, I appreciate only incitation, stability. But the instrument you put here will do damage to stability. And I like to suggest that this thing be set aside completely because, like it was eloquently enumerated by my brother, the Civil Senator Dankwabo, once we start speculation that foreign exchange might change, laws might change very soon, once that is in the psyche, everything will go. And I'd like, finally, to comment on the remark by the Senate Committee Chairman on Appropriation, Senator Iyayi Olamileko. He was wondering how the mere pronouncement, because this is at the heart of Dakwabo's submission, the mere pronouncement that government will import more food, it will remove some elements of taxes and levies and duties, has already created tension in the market, and that Naira has taken a dive. Why not? Once government announced that we intend to import more, and everybody is aware that that does not mean government is going to earn more Forex. So that commitment to import more naturally leads to speculation that importation, additional importation, can only put more pressure on the Naira. That results in the new rate that you are seeing.
It is imperative that we have a lot of problems in this country and that we have been so lackadaisical in calling to some of these issues at hand. In particular, the 2004 provision has not been able to capture the essence and the stability of the foreign exchange in our country. The foreign exchange, as adequately canvassed by the Appropriation Committee Chairman, has been left in tatters. Nobody seems to be in control. Now, you begin to wonder, is it the law that is the problem, or is it the implementers of the law that is the problem? By reading through the submissions of this bill, you begin to see some gaps that were actually created after the 2004 bill that was passed into law by the National Assembly. So therefore, it is important to begin to look at these gaps and to close them. However, I do not think the law at second reading is sufficient enough to be able to give us a very clear indication of where we're going. This particular law has to be subjected to a series of public hearings so that experts from all over Nigeria and beyond will be able to come and give us their own mindset. Part of the problem we have been having is that where we try to do this law for the good of the citizens, but at the background, there are people who are well-educated. They are trying to take the opportunity in looking at these gaps and try to play around and manipulate it. So it is important that we pass this law to second reading, but equally important that we must subject it to rigorous public hearing so that at the end of the day, what you are going to receive is a fair representation and acceptance by Nigerians. I so support this bill.
One major issue I think this bill tends to address is the issue of this instability in our foreign exchange markets. And as you are all aware, we are battling between both the secondary and the primary markets. As we speak, the rate of dollars that is so sure to anybody who is transacting any foreign exchange transaction is the secondary market. Even the CBN market, nobody, because if you approach the CBN that you want this at this rate, even after going through all paperwork and the dollars are not there. So I hope and I pray that this bill, when passed into law, will be able to address this instability and inconsistency we have in the foreign exchange markets. Enough is enough. As we speak today, the rate of dollars is going up. But for some time, we've been able to hover around 1,004, 1,005, but now we are moving towards $1,600. And for just some little pronouncement, policy statement, the next thing you see is the dollar skyrocketing. What has the government? The government have just issued a policy statement that they are trying to remove import or tax from some food items, wheat, maize, and something. Before you know it, everybody start running helter-skelter. Dollars start going up. For what? For how long are we going to continue in this? Any little thing you see that some people will just be there to control, take the advantage and control the market. So I hope that this bill, when eventually passed into law, will address all these issues that we have. And for once, we can get our foreign exchange market right. Thank you, Mr. President. I so submit.
Sarkinyak in Kefi, representing Nasarawa West Senatorial District. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I wouldn't be exempted, or I wouldn't want to be excluded from our colleagues that commended, and I commend the sponsor of this bill. But having commended him, the issues contained in the bill are contradictory, conflicting, and of course, confusing. The ideology or the principle behind the items contained in the bill can be understood, which is the reason why I commend him. Let me take the issues one by one, because all the issues contained in the bill are part of our extant rules and laws already. Talking about market, there is already foreign exchange market in Nigeria. What is a market? Market is determined buyer, willing seller. It can be online, it can be physical, it can be virtual, it can be. There is already foreign exchange market in Nigeria. And Of course, it calls for concern or concerns that we stabilize our currency. How do we stabilize our currency? I said earlier in the other chamber, the price of every commodity is determined by market forces, demand and supply. And so, for us to be able to sustainably stabilize our currency as Naira, we must rejuvenate our real sector. And the government of today is doing everything possible, because one of the reasons why the real sector is in the situation it is in Nigeria is, of course, instability in power supply. And this government is doing everything possible, electricity, gas, compressed natural gas, and what have you, to provide power. If we do not rejuvenate our real sector, which is a major employer of labor, that will provide much more for domestic utilization and much more for export. And the more we export, the more foreign exchange we earn. The more foreign exchange we earn, the more our foreign reserve grows, and the more our currency gets stabilized. Secondly, where I commend him, and I am in sync with the idea of amending the law to bring it up to date, because dynamism of life makes it imperative for everything in life to be dynamic. For crying out loud, this is 21st century. So if the law needs to be amended to bring it up to in tune to the realities of the day, that should be done. But I don't see any reason why we should contemplate. If we like, let's create 1,000,001 agencies, commissions, or modalities, so long as the fundamentals are not gotten right. We will not achieve all this. And all the necessary agencies, bodies, policies, rules that have got to do with all this, Mr. President, are in place. Senator Sani Musa, you remain my brother forever. I commend you for this initiative.
Thank you for your contribution. But you see, you cannot be commending him and at the same time punching him. Because almost everybody that stood up here said, I commend. Don't commend. Just say that you welcome this discussion. But if it is not something that we have to dabble into, and then we believe that the monetary policy committees, the CBN, the fiscal policy of the Ministry of Finance are doing their best, let's pinpoint where the areas of improvement that we can through legislation. But when we are talking about repeal and reenactment, what we are repealing is the foreign exchange monitoring and control. And we now want to reenact foreign, foreign exchange markets. And it's a bit confusing. So that's the reason why I said, are we not trying to put petrol on fire? Because like Senator Dankwambo pointed out, as soon as we dabble into this, people will say, oh, that a law is coming. And if the law is coming, let's buy as much as we can. You see what, Senator Oshumole, you'll be raising your hand.
Mr. President, I really want to thank you for allowing me to say something.
Plan Plateau Central. President of the Senate and my colleagues, I am not an accountant. I'm not even an economist. I just read physics, but I stand here to support this bill for the fact that one of the fundamental problems we have now is the value of our currency, the Naira. And therefore, any step that will be taken to see to it that the Naira, our currency, gain value, I think it should be a must-watch affair. And therefore, if this bill seeks to add value, to bring back value to our Naira, it must be a bill that should be supported. However, I would like to suggest that in the midst of the legislators, I'm very certain that here we have a lot of experts. And I believe that this is a moment for experts in finance, accounting, and so on and so forth, to look at this bill very critically and find a way of adding some value to this bill. Because at this stage, if Nigeria will be able to approach and bring policies that will bring back value to our Naira, most of the socio-economic problems we are facing, I am very certain we will have solution. I commend the mover of this bill, and I would like to ask that experts should use their lenses. Asuko and others should use your lenses and consultants we have here and see to it what can we add, so that at the end of the day, we will come out with a bill that will help to retain our economy. I thank you, Mr. President, and my colleagues for allowing me bring my own suggestion towards this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Senator Adetokunbo Abiru, and I represent Lagos East Senatorial District. Mr. President and my distinguished colleagues, first and foremost, I would like to commend my colleague, Senator Sonny Musa, for sponsoring this bill. I'd like to also say that I share in his concerns and as to what will have informed his sponsoring this bill, because, and I believe that it will not be unconnected with all that had happened in the foreign exchange market in the last 1 year. And of course, it is enough to give concerns to almost all of us. But again, I must also very quickly like to add that even in listening to the contents of his submission, he alluded to the fact that the extant laws guiding foreign exchange are quite obsolete. I mean, in the sense that he referred to the 1995 decree, which was also codified in the 2004 Act as well. But one thing I would like to bring out very quickly is that, you know, subsequent to the 2004 codification, we have since had the 2007 CBN Act, which in itself has given the sole responsibility of foreign exchange management of the country to be within the remit of the CBN, and is part of the independence that has been granted by this same parliament to the CBN. Now, again, it doesn't mean we shouldn't debate issues around the foreign exchange. And I think that, again, if we have closely monitored all that had happened in the last 10 months or thereabout, since we put in place the new leadership of the CBN, we will recall that we have had a raft of policies relating to, you know, trying to normalize the market. And so what is important, and the major mandate of the CBN is about price stability. And I think that if you follow the raft of policies that they have brought about in the last 1 year or thereabout, what we see today, yes, the currency has been largely devalued, but again, I mean, I think we can all attest to the stability of the exchange rate. If you look at it in the last 3 months or thereabout, it hovers between 1,500 or thereabout. What is important is the stability. All of the things around, whether domiciliary account, whether the monitoring, I mean, the amount of cash you hold, other things relating to how the bureau de changes are managed, I think that circulars, guidelines have been issued. And trying to come about a new bill will be interfering in the independence that we have already, granted to the CBN. So that will be my comment. I appreciate the concerns, but what we are trying to achieve is essentially around the stability of the currency. And today, I think that reasonably, we are beginning to see that stability, which, of course, it is what is most desirable, because that is what will encourage both, manufacturers, importers, and exporters. They need to have something that is very predictive. They don't want to work in an environment that the currency is not stable. So I so submit, Mr. President, my distinguished colleague. Thank you very much.
I'm Mohammed Sani Musa, representing Niger East Senatorial District. And I'm leading the lead debate on the Foreign Exchange Control and Monitoring Bill 2024, SB 353. Mr. President, my highly respected colleagues, I felt quite honored to be given the opportunity to lead the debate on this Foreign Exchange Control and Monitoring Bill 2024. The bill was read for the first time on Tuesday, 20th February 2024. The important bill seeks to repeal the Foreign Exchange Monitoring and Miscellaneous Provision Act, CAP F34, laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and established a foreign exchange market in Nigeria to make provisions for the control, monitoring, and supervision of transactions conducted in the foreign exchange market. The objectives of the bill include, among others, to establish a foreign exchange market, to provide for the regulation, monitoring, and supervision of the transactions conducted in the market and for related matters, to contribute to the sound development of the national economy by striving to facilitate foreign transactions, to maintain an equilibrium or balance of international payments, to stabilize the value of currency by ensuring the liberalization of foreign exchange transactions, to maintain an equilibrium or balance of international payments, and to stabilize the value of currency by ensuring the liberalization of foreign exchange transactions and other foreign transactions by revitalizing market functionalities. The bill attempts to expand Section 1 of the existing acts to incorporate 3 new provisions to make for clarity and to empower the Central Bank of Nigeria to administer, control, and manage all dealings and transactions in relation to foreign exchange matters. The newly introduced clauses will enable the CBN to determine the basic exchange rate of purchase and sale of foreign exchange. Clause 6 of the bill introduces new subclauses 2, 4, and 5, which require authorized dealers to render returns to the CBN on sources of foreign exchange in excess of 10,000 USD and utilization of same, and obtain prior approval of the CBN when seeking to import foreign currency notes for the market. Part 3 of the bill makes elaborate provisions for the grant of a license to carry on business dealings in foreign exchange. In this part, provisions were made for the refusal of license, suspension or revocation of license, review and appeal, etc. Clause 18, 1A and B were added to expand the scope of dealers in the market, and where funds are purchased from the bank, the market rates may be subject to rules and regulations prescribed by the bank. The operation of domiciliary accounts shall be as prescribed by the bank, and the powers of the CBN have been widened to prescribe how foreign exchange may be accepted for the payment for goods and services in Nigeria. Mr. President, the future of any nation is a function of her ability as a nation to manage its economy efficiently and optimally. Intrinsically linked to the wellness of a country's economy is the state of its foreign exchange market, usually regulated by a foreign exchange regime. Foreign exchange control measures are often adopted by a government as a strategy to either ban the use of foreign currency or restrict the amount of domestic currency that can be exchanged, traded or purchased within her foreign exchange market. The main aim of exchange control, as deduced from most systems where exchange controls are in place, is to prevent or redress an adverse balance of payments by limiting foreign exchange purchases to an amount not in excess of foreign exchange receipts, in line with the requirements of Article 1 of International Monetary Fund (IMF) Articles of Agreement 2011. The article recognizes Forex control as a strategy usually adopted by countries with transitional economies, and in particular the ones with weaker economies. Mr. President, this bill does not attach or envisage any financial burden on government because it does not seek to establish any agency or commission that may require funding by government. The bill, when passed into law, will contribute to sound development of our national economy, facilitate foreign transactions, and most importantly, stabilize the value of our currency by ensuring the liberalization of foreign transactions and revitalizing market functionality. The Senate is invited to note that the purpose of Foreign Exchange Control and Monitoring Bill 2004 and 2024 is to repeal the Foreign Exchange Monitoring and Miscellaneous Provision Acts, F-34 laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and establish a foreign exchange market in Nigeria and to provide for the control, monitoring, and supervision for related matters. It is obvious from all indications that the 1995 Act, which was codified in 2004, in its present form requires to be comprehensively reviewed to remove its outdated provisions and to bring in new provisions to match up with new challenges in the regulation of foreign exchange market in line with international best practices and with the requirements of Article 14 of the International Monetary Fund, Articles of Agreement 2011. This is exactly what the present bill has done. I urge you all to give this bill an expeditious and speedy passage into law. Thank you, Mr. President.